Mark Stock. I'm one of the co-organizers of Boston Virtual Reality Meetup group. We started the group in January this year. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
And still does. Jim Susinno, co-organizer. We like this stuff because it's fun. These are the best toys that are out now. We enjoy playing with them. Enjoy making software for them. I've been doing 3D software for a long time. So really, VR is as old as 3D graphics itself. This device just allows you to see it from within, from any perspective, all around. So that's what's different now.
Jim picked up an Oculus Rift about a year and a half ago and started programming for it on the Kickstarter. I wasn't into it yet. He was using it, and late last year there was a huge, like 500-person organized meetup at Microsoft Nerd Center, where Oculus came. They showed off some new hardware. There were tons of people showing demos, and that kind of kicked off the Boston Virtual Reality scene. And a few months after that, Jim lamented that he missed that energy, that excitement. And I think the next day I went home and started the meetup group.
I kind of couldn't believe that nobody had done that. It seemed like it was overdue.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were the first to put that flag down. I expect growth in interest in the next months, and then even more so in the next years.
This was our biggest meetup. We had 100 people here today. There are 250 members of the group, and we've only been doing this for 5 months now. So
right, yes. It was a big meetup too. Alex Schwartz of Alchemy put together a Valve Unity collaborative game jam effort. They brought their new headsets by. We got to demo them. It was awesome. Got probably at least 7 or 8 new demos out of the weekend from it. And this is the kind of thing I think I could see us doing again. So if you're a VR device hardware provider, do get in touch with us via the meetup page, email.
So how would they get in touch with you?
Meetup.com/Boston Virtual Reality. I'm at jimbomania.com.
MarcJStock.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen.
And thank all of you for coming to this, the largest Boston Virtual Reality meetup yet. I also like to thank HackerDeuce for giving us this wonderful space to use, and of course Valve for bringing this awesome equipment for us to try out. Now, as you may know, Saturday and Sunday, a bunch of people were at Workhar in Central Square making games that use VR and the new positional tracking that these gentlemen have set up here. So the format of these meetings generally is people bring their VR rigs, anyone wants to try it out, introduce yourself, try out the games, try out the demos, have a great time, meet people, trade business cards, get ideas, give ideas. What's going to happen in just a few minutes, once these gentlemen get the technical difficulties worked out, is they'll open it up to people who made games that use positional tracking. That means a lot of you. Bring those games up, we'll try them out. And if you're here to play with VR, this is all a great opportunity. Find someone with a computer, find someone with a Rift, find someone with a Valve headset, and have a great time.
Hi, I'm Marc Midura. I'm a developer with a local software firm with an amateur interest in virtual reality. This is the Oculus Rift. This is the developer kit. I believe this sold for $300 for a Kickstarter. This new one is $350. This is kind of an exciting time for VR. We're kind of reaching this singularity between the technology to be able to produce images and the technology to be able to reproduce these images. So I'm going to grab someone's phone over here. This is one reason why this thing is so cheap and so great. Basically, I don't really know what the screen's in here, but we're getting much cheaper screens. These are getting higher and higher resolution at lower and lower cost. This is why everyone has a smartphone in their pocket. And this is why this is only $300. I've been kind of on and off with the using VR equipment since, say, the late 80s. This technology used to have higher latency, much worse graphics, would make you sick, and would cost about $50,000. Yeah, all that for the low price of $50,000.
Jeffery Jacboson. I've been involved in virtual reality for about 20 years. I started doing tech with these sort of large projection displays, digital domes, and caves they're called. That's like a room the size of an elevator where each wall is a giant screen. And later on, when I did my graduate studies, I did virtual reality for education, particularly with archaeology. You know, we recreated an Egyptian temple, a bit of ancient Rome, that sort of thing, and did some learning experiments. It's been great fun. I've been kind of on the edge, well, in the academic world for this whole time. And but lately, I'm getting into the gaming community because that's where the new technology is coming out. And at the moment, most of the hardware is a cheaper, better version of existing hardware that's been around for 10, 20 years. You know, virtual reality, modern virtual reality was invented by the aerospace industry in the 50s, you know, the 60s with the flight simulators. And then about 20, 25 years ago, you had the military doing, you know, these simulations, these 3D simulations, you know, with the caves, and then later, you know, with these head-mounted displays. And I had always used large projections because the head mounts were garbage pretty much until now, and that's a total game changer. So it's really happening now because for $300 you can get a really good display. But what is VR? Okay, what the heck is that? You know, that term has been stretched out of shape for, you know, a lot of things have been stuffed into it. Probably the best way to think about it is to start at the beginning, which is we don't live in physical space. We live in psychological space, right? That's what matters to us. When we're moving through this world of objects, what does this object mean? You know, you don't get too close to grandma's picture, you know, with, you know, a plate of food because you might knock the picture off the wall. But if it's a piece of wallpaper, you don't care. You know, personal space, what does that mean? So we dress ourselves in clothes, we make clothing part of our body, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we use lighting to change the space we're in. Well, virtual reality is just an extension of that, right? So instead of creating a physical object, we create a digital object that can be projected into your field of view, or you put on these glasses and you're in this virtual world, you know, which is like, it's like you're being inside a movie, right? But the movie responds to you. That's another way to describe it. Honestly, you have to see it. I mean, you know, words aren't going to work. You can get close to it by maybe playing these video games, right? But with a video game, you're stuck looking, you know, in this little window. You're on the outside looking in. But with VR, you know, you're in the middle of it. And VR is being used in a number of different industries: aerospace, medical, construction, architecture, in engineering, you know, but it's always been these very high dollar, very expensive areas. And all the new technology is coming out of the game industry, which is normal, because every time you have any new medium, it's the entertainment people who figure out how to make money off it before everyone else does. That's been true for at least 100 years. It started with film, you know, TV, etc. You know, and the technology then is going to diffuse out to these different industries.
Use Connect as an example to understand virtual reality? Is it similar to virtual reality? Is it different from virtual reality? Because the Connect has been out for a while.
Yeah. There's this continuum between the things that we call virtual reality, where it's really all around you, the digital, and And then there's augmented reality, where you're taking part of our virtual world and making it digital. The Kinect is a interface, a control device that you can use to drive a character in a video game, a large-scale augmented reality projection, or something inside a virtual world. Yeah, the Kinect is entirely appropriate.
So do you think that sometime in the future, we're all going to have virtual reality consoles or gaming devices in our home? Do you really think that this is something that can be mass scaled?
I think it will be mass scaled. It is not going to be the interface for everything. That makes no sense. But I think it's going to be like the joystick or the gamepad. It'll be in every gamer's household, definitely. For a long time, it just might be in every household as another electronic appliance. But that is not certain, We'll have to see. We have the technology. It's all about creating stuff, I mean, we're all dressed up with no place to go a lot of times.
Also, I was wondering as well, with virtual reality, do you think that, at least what I've heard from other people, is that when they take those headsets off, that sometimes people feel a little disoriented?
They feel woozy.
Yeah, could you kind of explain why that happens, and if you think that we can reduce that in the future?
Okay. You keep your balance through three systems: your inner ear, your vision, and your sense of touch. And you only need two of them to keep your balance. But when you put on a virtual reality headset, your eyes are telling you that you're moving, and your butt is telling you that you're not. Your inner ear says you're not moving, and you get a sensory conflict. The other thing that's going on is that if you're poisoned, it'll affect your vision. So that feeling of nausea can kick in if you're getting visuals that are not consistent with reality. So that second part, high quality head-mounted displays can get rid of that problem. And it's mainly to do with the lag. So when you turn your head with those glasses, you want that image to update quickly. The other part, that sensory conflict, you just get used to it. You get over it. Like when you're a kid getting car sick, you get over that. It's funny, I'm a barfer, right? When I was a kid, I used to throw up just from watching the TV, and I trained out of it, and I'm super sensitive to the VR, or I was, but I trained out of it. So as this becomes more common, it'll become less of an issue.
One thing I noticed tonight is that whenever a demonstration was viewed on a computer screen, there were two circles in the middle.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked odd because I'm used to seeing computer screens that are completely square. But in these virtual reality, it looks like you're looking through binoculars.
Yeah.
Could you explain why it looks that way?
Oh, okay. Now, we're talking about a particular kind of virtual reality, the kind you have with a head-mounted display, okay? And that's because the field of your eye, let me see, each eye has a field of view of about 140 degrees, something like that. And your two eyes together give you 180 on the sides, but with the head-mounted displays, you have a lens that's in front of a screen, and you can't get more than a 90-degree field of view, okay? And that's, in my personal opinion, the minimum, right, for what I want to have a decent experience. So yeah, it looks a little weird, takes a little getting used to. You have 9 degrees for each eye, so the total together is about 110, 120. Now the old head-mounted displays, they only gave you 23 degrees. It's ridiculous, you know. I mean, there's no point, in my opinion. And but now that you have 90 degrees, yeah, it's a little weird, but it's pretty good.
Within the population, do you think people really understand what virtual reality is all about? Do you think they have a sense of its existence and its usefulness in our society right now?
Well, no, people don't understand because, again, the term virtual reality, I mean, it includes so many things that it's kind of a mess, like Second Life or World of Warcraft. That's also called virtual reality. And that stuff is wonderful. I love it, but it's really something different, you know, or, you know, it should be 2 different kinds of VR. We just don't have enough words right now. The other thing is that it has all these potential uses in our society, but it's not being used yet, you know. So, flight simulators, those are used for airline pilot trainings. That's well established, right? And now games, you know, that's just coming up. But, you know, and then it's used in engineering and medical, but only in a few particular things. So, you know, it's going to take time. You know, it's like the invention of, well, like mobile phones, right? You know, I remember way back, what was it, the late 80s, early 90s, you had those enormous brick phones you'd talk to. You know, it took 10 to 15 years before everybody had one, you know.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of a history about virtual reality and helping us to understand its usefulness in the future.